Mat Pilates September 2023. We're going to start in our crook lying position, so if you'd like to take yourself to the mat. Legs in parallel, ankle joints, knee joints, hip joints, all in straight lines to each other. Pelvis resting on the mat, shoulder blades and arms pressed down by the sides. Remember, if you feel uncomfortable when you pop your head onto the mat and it feels like your chin is sticking up into the air like this, just pop a pad underneath your head. We'll start by bringing our awareness to the breath pattern of Pilates. This is our thoracic breath, our lateral breath. So we're going to breathe in deep into the lungs to make the rib cage expand when we breathe in and recoil when we breathe out. Now, to breathe thoracically, we need to engage our core muscles, and these are the muscles of the pelvic floor and also the transverse abdominal muscles that wrap around our centre. So draw up gently with the pelvic floor and then pull away from the waistband of your trousers ever so slightly to get your core, your transverse connection into that core connection. If you keep those two groups of muscles just lightly active, nice big deep breath in through the nose, you're going to fill your lungs up, your rib cage will expand, and then a breath out through the mouth, the rib cage will recoil. So you're breathing using the mechanism of the rib cage, the diaphragm, and you're getting a lovely, lovely deep breath in. I'm going to explain this as if you feel like you're breathing in to your armpits. We'll do one more focused thoracic breath. And then we'll do some pelvic floor specific exercises, concentrating on strengthening the muscles of the pelvic floor. So without squeezing our buttocks, we're going to tighten the muscles of the pelvic floor to maximum, hold for a second and then let them go. Consider tightening from the back passage towards the front and then releasing, tightening and releasing. And try to tighten your muscles as vigorously as you can and also as fast as you can. Tighten and release. Because your pelvic floor muscles are inside your body, when you tighten your muscles and then release them, there won't be any visible movement on the outside of your body. Tighten and release. Tighten, release, and tighten, release. Tighten, release. Final time for the pelvic floor specific, tighten and release. Now, pelvic tilting to find our neutral, our imprint and our flat back position, and also to mobilise the lumbar spine. Softly engage the muscles of the core, so that's your deep pelvic floor and your transverse abdominals, and take a breath in to prepare. On the breath out, rock your pelvis backwards so that you flatten the lumbar curve to the mat, and on the breath in, rock back to neutral, which is a rough guide. Bones of your anterior superior iliac spine and pubis should be flat and level to each other horizontally because we're horizontal. So when we tip back and go into flat back, pubic bone higher than hip bones, and then as we move into neutral, we'll come to the position where they're roughly flat and level to each other. Our pelvic tilt is a beautiful mobilisation exercise for the lumbar spine. So all the vertebrae in the lower back are gently being mobilised as we work into and out of our pelvic tilts. So we're combining movement and breath, breathing out as we move into the flat back position. That describes having your lower back pressed flat to the floor so you don't have a curve there at all. And then breathing in when you move back to the position where the bones of the pelvis are flat and level. You have a gentle curve here underneath the back. Now this gentle curve, this neutral position, is vital to what we're going to do next. This is a pelvic stability exercise. So I want you to find your neutral and keep your pelvis still. Engaging your core muscles will help you to keep your pelvis still as you do a heel slide down the mat, lengthening the leg. And then raising the leg up so the thighs are roughly level and parallel to each other, lowering down and sliding back in. And then without wobbling the pelvis, change to the opposite leg. Heel slide to leg lift, leg lower, and slide back in. Continue to alternate, exhale to heel slide and leg lift. Inhale, lower and slide in. Exhale, heel slide, leg lift. Inhale, lower, slide in. So just practicing here, maintaining that feeling of having your core muscles active as you're moving your leg. Now that should help you to keep your pelvis anchored to the mat, so it's not rocking backwards and forwards, it's not tipping side to side when you're changing legs with your heel slide and your leg lift. We make this our final one, and then we mobilise the hip joints, but also again working on pelvic stability by practicing our knee drop exercise next. So coming back to the neutral position with your pelvis, we'll reactivate the core. Also feel like your collarbones are long. You're gently pressing the shoulders and the arms flat down to the floor. And then moving on the breath out, we'll rotate the hip joint so it goes into external rotation. Inhale as it comes back to centre. Exhale to rotate out, inhale to centre. So you're doing this without losing the position of the pelvis. If you do find that your pelvis starts to roll over to the side when your leg's going out to the side, decrease the range of movement that you're trying to take the leg to and be aware of what your pelvis is doing. Perhaps use your pelvic diamond so you can actually feel the bones of the pelvis, and then you'll know that they're not moving. We'll make this the last one on our right, and then we'll do the same movement on our left. So we're gently lowering the leg out with a knee drop and back into centre without letting the pelvis roll to the side. So as well as being pelvic stability, this exercise is also hip joint mobility. We make this our last one, exhaling as you take the knee out and inhaling to bring it back in. Next we'll move to rotations, and we're going to do these in side lying. So we're lying on our side with a larger pad underneath our head. We're going to bring ourselves to neutral in side lying, so a weight bearing through the arm, through the pelvis. We have the feet and knees forwards and the arms stretched out in front of us. Engaging our core muscles to prepare for the exercise. We take a breath in and reach to the ceiling, turning the head to look at the hand, I should say. And then on the breath out, keeping the eye line with the hand, we rotate, almost as if you're trying to roll onto your back. There'll be a point where you just don't rotate anymore. At that point, hold, take a breath in, and then breath out, close and return. We'll go again, engaging our core muscles, so that's pelvic floor and transverse. Breath in as you reach to the ceiling, looking directly at the hand. So keep this eye to hand line, rotate on the breath out, hold for a breath in, and breath out, close and return. Engage the core. Breathe in, reach to the ceiling, look at the hand, breath out, rotate. Breath in, hold, and breath out, close and return. Engaging the core, reach and look, breath out, rotate, breath in, hold, and breath out, close and return. Okay, knee drop movement pattern, but lying on our side. So either cross your arms or perhaps take the heel of your hand and place it to the back of the pelvis, and this will assess whether or not your pelvis is moving backwards, which hopefully it won't be. So we want to keep the pelvis stable. We'll do that by activating our core muscles. And then we do our external hip rotation. So this is the same movement that you were practicing when you were doing knee drops. It is just that our body is now in a slightly different position. And because our body is in side lying, you're having to lift the weight of your leg against gravity. And that means that the muscles in the hip, the external hip rotators, are having to work a lot harder to do that. Now, it is sometimes common if you have a decreased range in your hip joint to compensate for that by rolling your pelvis back when you open the leg. So it's important that you don't let your pelvis roll back and you only move at the hip. Even if that means that you have a reduced range of movement and you're doing a smaller movement pattern, then that is absolutely fine. We'll make this our last one with our clamp. And then we'll give the front of the thigh a stretch, coming into a side lying quadricep stretch position. Now you may find again that holding onto your foot, if you've got an issue with your knee and your knee doesn't flex fully, that holding onto the foot is not possible for you. If that's the case, you can still stretch your thigh by not holding your foot, flexing your knee to a right angle and pushing backwards like this, and you'll find you'll still get some stretch down through the front of the thigh. So you don't necessarily have to hold the leg to stretch it. We'll move from side lying, we're going onto our back, we're going to do some work on the shoulder girdle. And I'm going to use the pad that was in between, that was underneath my head, in between my hands for this work. So I'm going to separate the shoulder blades. So holding the pad, breathe in and just stretch up towards the ceiling. Your shoulder blades will come off the mat. And then as you breathe out, allow your shoulder blades to return to the mat as they print. So it's a breath in to reach and a breath out to print. Breath in to reach and breath out to print. Now this gives us our protraction and retraction of the shoulder girdle. We'll do that one more time and then we'll do shoulder extensions. Now we're going to do these in flat back, so tip your pelvis backwards, flatten the lumbar curve to the mat and hold your back in that position. Keep your core engaged, moving on the breath out to reach the arms overhead to touch this pad to the floor. And then on the breath in, we'll bring the arms back through. If you find that your shoulder joints have a little bit of restriction and you cannot reach that pad to the floor overhead without either bending your elbows or flexing your wrists, just change the alignment of the pad that you're holding, and then you'll find that if you hold the pad like this, you'll be able to touch the pad to the floor, whereas holding it like this may be a lot more difficult. So keeping the flat back position, on the breath out, reaching, on the breath in, returning. On the breath out, reaching, and on the breath in, returning. We'll make this our last one. And then we're going to place this block in between our knees to do shoulder bridge. If you've got a head pad, you may want to reduce it or remove it at this point. If hamstrings tend to cramp, bring your feet a little bit closer. Press your arms down by the sides, prepare for the exercise, engage your core and take a breath in. On the breath out, tip your pelvis back to flat back and articulate your spine off the mat until you're in the bridge position. That's a long straight line from your knee through your pelvis to your shoulders. Take a breath in when you achieve it, and then breath out, segment by segment. Try to roll your spine down to the mat, moving from flat back to neutral, where you'll re-engage your core and take a breath in. And then breath out, articulate the spine up, holding breath at the top, and breath out, rolling back down, breathing in at the bottom, engaging the core, breathing out as you articulate up. Now the articulation's a really nice part of your bridge. This allows you to try to get as much space as you possibly can between your spinal segments on the way to the top of the bridge and then on the way back down into your crook lying position. I want you to feel like you're trying to get as much space as possible on your journey up to the top of the bridge, and then also as much space as possible, printing each vertebra to the mat on the way down back to your neutral position. Go one more time, engaging the core. Breath out for articulation up. Holding breath in at the top of the bridge and breath out, rolling down. Okay, once we get to the bottom of the bridge, we're going to repeat our rotations. I'm going to turn my back to you. So we're popping our big pad underneath our head into side lying. Right angle at knee joint, right angle at hip joint. So using the long edge of the mat in front of you for your shins, the long edge of the mat behind you for your spine to lengthen. And do make sure that you're looking directly forwards. You've still got a gentle lumbar curve and you haven't inadvertently tucked your tail between your legs when you've come into side lying. Breath in, prepare for the exercise, engage your core, reach to the ceiling, look at the hand, breath out, rotate, keep that hand in your line of sight. Breath in to hold, and breath out, close and return. Breath in, engage, reach and look. Breath out, rotate, breath in, hold, and breath out, close and return. Breath in, engage, reach and look. Breath out, rotate, holding breath at the end point of the rotation, and breath out, close and return. Breathing in, gentle engagement. Breath out, reach and rotate. Breath in, hold, and breath out, close. One more time. Engaging core. Breath in, reach and look. Breath out, rotate. Breath in, hold, and breath out, close and return. Clams again. Heel of the hand can go against the back of the pelvis like this, or you can cross the arms over if you're confident that you can clam without rolling back. So we open and close, open and close, open and close. So the muscles here across the hip, they attach onto our pelvis, across the hip joint, attach onto the femur, the thigh bone, and those muscles are contracting to rotate that leg out of the hip. Remember, don't let the pelvis roll backwards like that. Keep it really nice and stable. Nice little bit of strength exercise for those external hip rotators. We'll make this our last one, and then we'll stretch again, front of the thigh, either holding onto the foot like this, or the modified form, pressing back with the knee flexed to a right angle if you do find that holding onto your foot is an issue. We'll release the leg and we're going to move to hands and knees to do our cat stretch next. When we're in 4-point kneeling, we're placing our hands roughly directly underneath our shoulders, our knees directly underneath our hips. So you're looking for the nice vertical line, shoulder to hand, hip to knee. Length that you have from your hand to your knee is roughly the length of your body from your shoulder to your hip. Engaging your core. Performing the cat stretch, we'll exhale, tucking our imaginary tail between our legs and our chin towards the chest, but also pushing the mat away from us to separate our shoulder blades. And then as we breathe in, we'll extend the spine, taking the chin and the tailbone up into the air. So it's a breath out as we flex. Breath in as we extend. A breath out, flexing. Breath in, extending. Breath out, flexing. Breath in, extending. We'll do one more repetition of our cat stretch. Unloading the wrists and sitting back into shell, which is a great place to do some pelvic floor specific work. So we're going to do another set of our emergency stop exercises that we started with. working on the speed and the strength of the pelvic floor muscles. Contract maximally, release, contract, 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 release. Strength work in 4-point kneeling. Finding neutral, we visualise we have a plank of wood balanced along the back of the body. We're making sure we're not letting our head fall forwards, but we're pulling our chin back into retraction, and we have just enough of a curve in the lower back for a small puddle of water. Without losing the curve, we activate our core muscles and we hold those muscles in as we breathe. We're going to press out towards the little fingers and pull the heels of the hands down towards the knees. And we'll feel a lot more muscle activation as we hold our 4-point hollowing position. Releasing back into shell. And let's work another set of pelvic floor. Contract, release, 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 contract, and release. Releasing out of our shell position back to 4 points. Pelvic girdle stability, shoulder girdle stability. So we're back to 4-point kneeling neutral. I'm going to take our weight onto our right hand and our left knee. With our core muscles hollowed, we extend fingers on the left hand, toes on the right leg to pinpoint. Without moving our torso, we float the fingers and the toes just up off the mat. We hold for the count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We return to pinpoint, 4 points, and switch the load left hand, right knee. Fingers on the right hand, toes on the left leg to pinpoint. We're hollowing. Option to float. Now this float is harder, so if you do find with the float you're losing your alignment, hold your pinpoint. For 5 more, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to pinpoint, back to 4 points. We'll go again. Right hand, left knee taking the load. So I want you to be pushing away from the mat, pulling your chin back and hollowing into your core muscles. Left fingers, right toes go out, and if that feels hard to stay there, stay here with pinpoint. If it feels relatively easy and you can keep your pelvic girdle, shoulder girdle stable, we're just off the mat into our quadruplex. We're holding the position for 10 seconds. We've got about 5 left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down, back in, and shift. Pinpoint, and again stay with pinpoint. If this is your ceiling level, you're working really, really hard here. We don't want you to lose it. We're floating with our harder level into the quadruplex. Again, holding for 10 seconds. Again, we've got about 5 left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pinpoint 4 points, and then we'll do breaststroke props. Stages 1 and stages 2. So we want to pop something underneath our forehead, which will keep our neck in neutral. And lay down on our tummy with our legs in parallel and arms in a low W. Working against gravity, we'll lift into the transverse abdominals and then gently scoop into our pelvic floor. Exhale, draw your shoulder blades down your back, and then inhale, peel face and chest off the mat. Exhale, chest and face lower down to the mat. Inhale, shoulders lift to the ears. Exhale, shoulder blades down. Inhale, face and chest off. Exhale, chest and face down. Inhale, shoulders to ears. Exhale, shoulders down. Inhale, face and chest off. Exhale, chest and face down. Inhale, shoulders to ears. Exhale, shoulder blades down. Inhale, face and chest off. Exhale, chest and face down. Inhale, shoulders to ears. Last one. Exhale, shoulder blades down. Inhale, face and chest off. Exhale, chest and face down. Inhale, shoulders to ears. Stage 2. Arms go down by the sides. We relax the shoulders. We set up for the exercise by gently engaging our core, followed by squeezing our shoulder blades towards each other and then turning our arms in really, really tight and close to the body so we can feel that the arms work really hard in this position. Now we float into the lower back. So you look down at the mat with your stage 2, release the lower back, release the shoulder girdle. The movement pattern is scapular retraction. That's when you're squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, followed by external rotation of the arms in the shoulder joint. And then you're getting lumbar extension. So this one's really, really good for keeping your shoulders back and strengthening up your rotator cuff muscles. And strengthening up the muscles in your lower back. So we squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, turn the arms tight, float into lower back. Release the lower back, release the shoulder girdle and the shoulder joint. Squeeze the shoulder blades, turn the arms in tight, float into the lower back. Release the lower back, releasing the shoulder girdle, shoulder joint. One more time through, shoulder blades, shoulder joint, lower back. Releasing the lower back, releasing the shoulder girdle and the shoulder joint. Coming out of our prone position, again back to full point kneeling. We put a little bit of load through the wrists and the shoulders. So we're in neutral, and I'd just like you to set up a 4-point sway forwards and backwards. A little tiny move. If this is all that you want to do with this is fine. Your progression will be to sway forwards, and then you're bending the elbows, straightening the elbows, and swaying back. Now when you bend the elbows, I want you to try to keep your forearm pretty much vertical, okay? So you sway, bend, straighten, and back. Sway, bend, straighten, and back. Sway, bend, straighten, and back. We'll make this our last one. We'll push back into shell stretch, which we'll take to the sides this time. So crouching low into shell, walk both hands around to your right hand side until you get to the point where you can feel a deep stretch running down the left side of your body. Hold the position. Take your awareness to your breathing. Focus on the breath out, allowing you to relax into the position. One more cycle of breath in and out. And then move to the opposite side. Hold when you feel the stretch. And take awareness to breath. One more cycle of breath in and out. And then we'll release back to centre. Come up into 4-point kneeling. And then just take a quarter turn. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the muscles around the hip in side lying now. And this is side lying leg series, stage 1, stage 2. It's vital that you're lying straight down in a nice long straight line and that you haven't flexed at the hip or bent at the knee or rounded into the back. So you're in a lovely long straight line. And then we're keeping the pelvis nice and still. So making sure that the top of the pelvis and the bottom of the rib cage don't close down and come closer together, okay? So keep this as your focus for length here to here. Toe pointed, lift, flex, lower. Now when you lower the leg, don't let it drop down onto the bottom leg. So you're lifting and lowering with control, making the movements very nice and precise. Point, raise, flex, lower. Imagine that you're lengthening the leg away from you. This time we'll point and lift, and then 5 circles one way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Let's do a little bit of loading into the shoulder. So come up, placing your elbow underneath your shoulder, your forearm and your hand flat, and then flex your legs, bringing the knees into a 45-degree angle position. Now push down with your arm so that the spine lengthens and you can feel work into the shoulder. Reach the other arm up, and then you just put in a little bit of weight through that body. Stay there if you feel that this is the right level for you. To load that shoulder even more, raise the pelvis off so you've got more load going through that arm. We'll hold for the count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 before releasing down. Okay. Now we take a quarter turn onto our back and we're going to do the ab prep. Now we're going to work in imprint rather than neutral to do our ab prep. So pop your pelvis into neutral and we're going to imprint from the rib cage, okay? So be aware of where the back of your ribs are touching the mat, and I want you to soften your rib cage down. So you get more contact between the back of the ribs and the mat than you did have when you were lying in your neutral position. So this is going to be our imprint. This is going to make the muscles in the obliques work a little bit harder. Engage your core. Perform a chin tuck to rock the head, and then perform a lift. Head, shoulder blades, arms off the mat. Breath in, hold, and breath out, releasing down. Again, engaging the core. Perform your chin tuck to rock the head. Exhale, raise. Inhale, hold, and exhale, lower. Engage, rock. Exhale, raise. Inhale, hold. Exhale, lower. Engage, rock. Exhale, raise. Inhale, hold. Exhale, lower. One more time through. Engage the core, rock the head. Exhale, raise. Inhale, hold. And exhale, lower. Knee fold again, still in this imprinted position. Engaging your core muscles, moving at your hip joint, coming into tabletop and out of tabletop. You've got 2 intensity options. I'm currently working at the lowest intensity option, which is our single knee fold. You're going to focus on the back of your pelvis as your anchor, keeping that nice and still so the pelvis doesn't rock backwards and forwards. It doesn't tip side to side when you're lifting your leg into the air. It's also important that you're holding your core muscles in and you're not pushing up and bulging out at any point. Double knee folds, quite a lot more challenging, to be honest, to do these with good technique, into and out of tabletop. Again, it's making sure that your tummy muscles don't bulge up. Shouldn't feel like your torso moves at all when you're doing your double knee folds. And you should be able to maintain the scoop into the pelvic floor and into your transverse abdominals against the weight of the legs as they're moving. So if it feels like you're bearing down or again pushing up with your tummy muscles, both of those things are incorrect technique, and it's really important that you work at the level where you have good technique. So we want to reinforce good technique all the time. So hold either a single or a double tabletop. We're going to do the 100. We're going to do the 100 in imprint, but also in skull rock. So you're not going to lift your head this time, okay? So rock your head into your chin tuck position, pressing the back of the rib cage down, float the arms off, and then if you want a little bit more load, we're lengthening the leg away so that the angle between the floor and the leg is roughly 45 degrees. And we'll do one leg for 50 beats and change to the next one. Breath. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 10, in, 2, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 20, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 4, 30, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 40, in, 2, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 50. Switching legs, opposite leg. Breath. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 60, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 70. Your body will try to cheat, and it will usually bend your knee to make what you're doing easier. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 100. Tuck in, rest down, and lengthen to full body stretch, allowing yourself to come out of your imprint into a little bit of an extended spine position. If you're managing shoulder issues that prevent you from getting your arms to the floor over your head, you may perhaps want to try a wider arm line with your stretch. So take the arms wide rather than into a very long, narrow position. If you're in the long, narrow position, you're not getting any stretch at all, tuck your tail, go into your flat back position with your pelvic tilt, and that should give you a much stronger stretch than you previously had. Okay, we'll release out of it. Now we're going to combine two movement patterns that we've done separately. We're going to hip lift into bridge this time, and when we're in bridge, we'll perform a shoulder extension over and back. Bend your knees. Back to your crook lying position, perhaps with your heels a little bit closer to your pelvis, your arms down on the floor. Push into the feet and lift the pelvis up in one strong move to bridge. So you're using your buttocks to do that. Shoulder extension over, touching the floor. Release from the shoulder extension. And we'll articulate out of bridge, rolling down to find neutral, where we pick back up again, straight into our bridge. Reach the arms, overhead, release the arms from overhead, articulate the spine down. Find neutral, and on the breath out, push into the feet, raise the pelvis. Hold it there. It might feel like it's a stretch for the thighs. It will definitely feel like this is working. Breath in, reach. Breath out, release. And breath in, articulate down, find neutral. Push into your bridge. Reach the arms. Release the arms. Articulate out to the bridge. Let's do that one more time. Find neutral, push up into your bridge. Reach your arms, release your arms, and articulate down out of bridge. We need to balance our side lying exercises. I'm going to turn my back to you. Side lying leg series, stage 1, stage 2. Long straight position. Toe pointed. Raise, flex, lower, point. Remember the control. So very precise with your foot movement, and this will work the muscles in the shin and the muscles in the calf. Keeping the gap between the top of the pelvis and the bottom of the rib cage, so your leg is moving in its hip socket. Point and hold at the top of the lift. circles. Your knee stays straight and your movement is coming right from the top of this femur. Reverse the circle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release the leg. Bend the knees. 45 degrees between the thighs and the body. Push up. Straight line, elbow to shoulder. Forearm and hand are planted and you're going to push away from the mat to load the shoulder and reach the arm. Scooping into the core muscles, I want you to be pushing away from the mat all the time, and if that is sufficient load, you stay with it. If it's not, you raise up and we hold our side plank prep position for the count of 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So it's all in the push. I want you to be really active as you're holding the position, releasing down. Okay, we're going to stretch it out. We're coming onto our back. And we're doing a hip flexor stretch, bringing one knee towards the chest. The opposite leg is long and straight. We'll unfold the leg at the knee and bring it into a stretch for the hamstrings, but do try to keep this thigh close to the chest so you're targeting the belly of the muscle here into those hamstrings. And then we'll lengthen the leg away, and that will bring the stretch across the back of the knee. We'll release that leg, lengthen it down the mat, and repeat that sequence of stretches for the opposite side. So we start with our hip flexor stretch, bringing the thigh towards the chest. If you do have a knee that doesn't flex so deeply, you can also hold the back of the thigh for this stretch. Keeping the thigh close to the chest, we're extending the leg at the knee so that the stretch develops into the belly of the hamstrings, and we'll hold it there. Stretches should feel uncomfortable. As you hold the position, the feeling of discomfort will ease. It might not ease completely, but it will ease a little bit. And then we'll lengthen away. And then we release. We're going to come to seated for hip rotator stretch. One leg straight, one leg bent. If you've a replacement hip on your bent leg side, keep your foot in line with the replacement. If not, cross over like that, and then you turn yourself in the direction of your bent leg, and the stretch is in the buttock and the hip rotators. We worked them quite hard when we were doing our plans earlier on. We'll release from there, repeating the stretch on the opposite side. And for any seated stretches, you may feel that you're more comfortable with your pelvis sat up on a hard block, so do please use a hard block if that is better for you. We're now going to come to kneeling for a side stretch. And we're kneeling up. We'll lengthen the arm, keep the elbow long and flex to the side. Releasing and switching over, lengthen and flex. And releasing, and we're going to step to standing, using lunge as a functional movement to get ourselves up. Let's roll the shoulders back. And then take a few nice gentle rotations. Coming back to centre, placing the palms together, breathing in to gaze up towards the hands at the ceiling, and breath out to release. Well done. I hope you feel nicely mobile after that session.